Nasser, how are you, brother?
Hey, I'm doing all right, man. And thank you for having me on, man.
No, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Happy Wednesday.
Yeah, thanks, man. Just another old Wednesday trying to get deals done.
You and me both. So tell me how that's going. I guess maybe we can do some introductions. My name is Dustin DeFrates. I'm the CEO founder of Geopoint Data, and this is Talk Data to me. And so we intermittently do these things, especially when we have something exciting or important to say, or someone amazing to talk to. And so here we are talking to someone amazing, Nasser. Nasser, maybe you could give a little background about who you are, what you do.
Absolutely, man. So I'm Nasser. Online, I go by AKA the real estate guru. Not a guru, I'm a guru because I actually do this business. And I've been involved in real estate since 2007. I've been involved in real estate. That's when I bought my first house. I learned about creative real estate in about 2010, did my first wholesale deal, 2011. I got fired from my job September of 2012, and I've been a full time real estate investor since then. So, still ticking, and thankfully.
So 2010, you got your start, and you've been going from 10 to now.
2011, I did my first wholesale deal.
First
So
wholesale deal,
2010,
2011.
I found out about creative real estate. I entered real estate without knowing this side of real estate.
Fantastic. Cool. Well, I appreciate that. And you're obviously a big deal. And so if those who are watching don't know, Nasser's a big deal and does great business. And I love the idea of guru as opposed to duru. There's a whole lot of gurus out there. And Nasser and I guess are smart enough to be able to see through all the bullshit. But unfortunately, the people that haven't been doing this for Nasser's 13, 20, almost 20 years, basically. It's easy to see through that bullshit. So I think we're here today, Nasser, to talk about what's working. You're out there hustling it out. I'm out there hustling it out. I think we probably can share some best practices. And if anybody that's joining us today has any questions or wants to hear what my take on this world is, as opposed to Nasser's very, very different sides. I'm more on an scaled financial side of this business. So I'm communicating with the funds and the national buyers. And then I have a data company that helps supply people like Nasser and your audience, the people that are loyal to Nasser with data. So I'm very excited to talk about best practices across the board. So Nasser, tell me what's going on in the world right now.
Essentially, there's a concern. There's a concern of what's going on in the real estate market. Can you still wholesale in this market? Which the short answer is yes. But the issue is, you've been doing for a while. Guy like you, of course, it worked for you, but is it going to work for me? Type of situation, So, yeah, that's the issue. So, with that being said, those are the main issues. Like, does wholesaling still work? Is the market going to get worse, etc.? So I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. If a house is priced right and done right, things are still selling. 600 plus above, things are still selling with less than a week, sometimes day one, depending on the product. So
is there 1,000 below, you said?
No. Things like 600,000 in a gentrifying area are still selling here. No, I mean $1 million houses are still selling less than a week here. So
good.
Our market is pretty strong. If it's priced right and the product is done nice, people are still buying. I don't play in that price point. I like to play in the 350 below price point because worst case scenario, I can always make that into a rental property.
Yes,
yeah. So with that being said, the major concerns are, what's going on with the real estate market, and of course, some data came out about how Airbnb are doing bad in most of these in these top 12 cities. The Airbnbs are not doing so well, etc. But I have an Airbnb here in the outskirts of Charlotte that does extremely well. However, it's a lower price point. With my stuff, right? I and the pillow. Sometimes, Dustin, Me and you actually do the business. We're in the business. We see what's going on. But sometimes people like to run to luxury because luxury is better in their mind. They claim, that's what they think. That's what they were taught. However, I'm like that Walmart guy where I service Middle America because the majority of America is Middle America.
That's true.
So, right. So my Airbnb is at the price point of it's a very low price point, between $80 to $90 a night, and I stay booked up. And I do very well on that one.
What's your capital basis, or what's your break? How much are you into that thing from a total? I don't care about debt or equity, but like, what is that house worth?
House is worth about 210 right now. I'm in about 120. 120K. I bought it for 80, put 20. I bought it 80, put like 25,000 into it. So about 105, 110,000 what I'm in for. But when I first refinanced it though, it was my appraisal came back at like 150, but with everything going to market, stuff is selling at around like 200, 210 right now.
So it sounds like you burred out of that. Is that right?
That's correct. That's exactly what I did. And
how many burrs? I've never done a burr. I raise money with family offices, and I do different types of financial structure. But have you done a lot of them?
I have done a lot of burrs. I've done a lot. That's a lot of my stuff is for my rentals. Cool. But what I try to explain to my students is, try not to let that type of news scare you, because you want to buy, right, based off of me. I like to buy based off 3 exit strategies. Okay. I can Airbnb is one, traditional rental is one. I can do a fire sale if need be.
Yep.
So that's what I like to buy off of. And fire sale, meaning that I'm 70 to 75% all in of the ARV ideally. So if a house is worth 100, I'm all in 70,000 or 75,000. So if I need a discount and sell for 90,000 for a quick sale, I can do that and still make out. So I like to have 3 exit strategies. But of course, there are people who just bought based off Airbnb. So yeah, they got to get hurt, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. And it's unfortunate about how hype works and the gurus as opposed to durus, because there's a lot of people that are pushed into these things by thinking that they're getting good advice. And just that's not how supply and demand works, right? If there's too much supply, the demand prices goes down. So, okay. So the funny thing, and I didn't hear, so you try really hard not to fix and flip houses. That's not one of your general exit strategies as you enter a deal. The Airbnb rental and fire sale doesn't include trying to sell that thing for market premium.
I try not to flip houses. I don't want to run a big flipping rehabbing operation. Yep. If you know anything about rehabbing, bro, like those things can get, you think you're making 60 to 70,000, but then you open up a wall and that 60 to 70,000 profit, man, I've been in situations where I lost, or at 60, 70,000 turned into 15,000. So
and so much time, effort, and energy. So I appreciate that. Like, so that's why I haven't done a single burr to date, but I'm going to do a couple this year. So the family office money allows me to play that game where I have an exit strategy regardless, right? And so that's what I want everybody to kind of hear, is that don't get involved in something that you don't know or you don't want to be an expert in, right? Because Nasar knows very, very much that he does not want to be an expert in fixing and flipping houses and doesn't want to run rehab crews because there's so much risk behind that. But if one of the people listening today is handy, then you're going to be able to do that side of the business better than me and Nasar are going to be able to do it. So you just have to kind of decide what your passion and goal is going to be based upon your personality type and your skill set, and your financial backing, because all 3 of those things will drive the correct model. So I think that's what we're talking about, Nasar, right? We're talking about the correct model in this market here and now. Yeah,
that's correct.
So I'm excited about the Airbnb or the rental or the fire sale. That makes lots of sense. And so, can you wholesale in this market is something that you brought up as a concern for everybody. What's your easy answer?
I mean, the easy answer is yes. I mean, you can wholesale in the market, but sometimes people get caught up that with that experience number that we have, that that resume that you said about real estate. I mean, yeah, your resume is extremely impressive. So the newbie might be intimidated about your resume, Dustin. So therefore, yes, you can wholesale, and people want to know like, well, what's working, etc. And so I get that question a lot on IG, and even from my students, I'm like, yo, just go through the course, etc. Do it, take it step by step, bump out the negativity. You can still close deals in this market.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And so there's a lot of people that they just want to have that first win, right? This success mechanism is triggered in one's brain when they have that first win, right? And so I'll tell you what's working from our team's perspective. I do wholesale and we do door knocking, and so the opportunity for us has been tracking specialty data, right? And so very, very specific lists related to either the distress of the homeowner, or we also have a product where we're focused on people that would prefer to stay in their house after they sell. So we kind of track one business where we know we have a set buyer to track down the people that the offer would work well for, right? And then we have another business that is just purely tracking distress. So Nasar, maybe you can track on a couple of your strategies that seem to still be working in this. I agree with you fully that there is no market that wholesaling doesn't work. In fact, if you start building your wholesale operation right now, you are going to be ready for what I think is going to be a near recession or soon to be recessionary market where people will lose jobs. And when that happens, the houses will sell. So I think that, gearing up right now for success in the future is probably the best pre-planning you could do if you're considering becoming a wholesaler. Would you agree with that, Nasar?
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's why what you said is extremely important. I got started in the worst recession since the Great Depression, and I got started with learning. I learned creative real estate with wholesaling. Wholesaling is something you can do in any market cycle. Like you said, any market cycle wholesaling works. So with flipping houses, rehabbing houses, yeah, it can work. However, you would have to change strategy. And let's say like in a down market, first time home buyer price point is always going to sell. And as far as the luxury buyers, they're more sophisticated. They might say, well, I don't want to buy this $1 million asset or $1.2 million asset and be worth 900,000 in 3 months. So I'll just wait. They have the luxury to do that. But first time home buyer price points always sell, etc. So you just have to change strategies. But as far as wholesaling, it doesn't matter what the market does. It works. And if it doesn't work, all you have to do, Dustin, is walk away from the contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And so I like to communicate. I become a solution provider. So for those considering getting into wholesaling, that the creative financing, along with a cash offer, along with having the fix and flip investors, or the way that you're going to be able to get out of this transaction, right? Having those exit strategies is critical. And so I appreciate that. That's your mindset, Nasar, because that's where a lot of people get nervous or stuck. They don't have someone to help them through their first wholesale transaction, so they can't get started, And so I highly encourage everyone here to go find a guru if you're looking to get into the business, and rely on their expertise on what is and is not working, because there's no net gain for Nasar to tell you what isn't working, right? Here's what I'm doing, right? Here's what's working, and everybody can win together. So I like that. So so marketing wise, Nasar, if you're staying in the $350,000 and below, that tends to be the market that people have to buy, and sometimes they have to sell. And so in that trade, I can use this statistic, expect 5% of houses to trade under normal circumstances, right? So out of every 100 houses that our friends here might see, 5 of them will sell for sure, and maybe 1 or 2 of them will sell with some distress. Is that a fair thought, Nasar?
Yes.
And so then the game becomes making sure that you're putting your marketing efforts into the ones that are most likely to sell.
Yes.
Yeah. So what are you doing right now from a marketing perspective to track down the people that are most likely to sell? And then how do you communicate with them?
All right, we're doing cold calling and testing, right? And you said most likely to sell, and that's what I try to explain to my students. You want to go out to specific list in this market. Specific list meaning bad credit, absentee, pre-foreclosure, people that you know that have a higher probability of selling. And being that those people have a higher probability of selling, you know, you have a higher probability of getting a deal rather than just do blanket marketing. Do I still grab the whole county and we cold call or we text message? Yes, I still do that. However, for the average person, that just might not be feasible.
Correct. And so to re-explain what Nasser just said is that lots of people have the financial resources to scale marketing across an entire market. But guess what? Nasser is not having conversations with every single homeowner personally. If he was, you would never get a deal done because Nasser's going to win. Right?
Yeah, right.
Like, what Nasser has to rely on is his money to be able to scale into that. And the farther away he is from the money or the money at work, the less likely he is to be able to communicate the same type of message that someone who cares about every single conversation is going to. Is that fair, Nasser?
Absolutely.
So I think that's what I can encourage all of the new wholesalers or people considering wholesaling or even realtors. When you have the passion to help create solutions for homeowners, then you're going to beat the entire market. So it doesn't matter what market we're in from a wholesale perspective. There is always an opportunity. It becomes about finding the right customer avatar, right? The right person, then with the right poor credit or age related or foreclosure or other life circumstances and delivering them an offer. So Nasser, let's say most of the new wholesalers have experience putting out a offer and being rejected. How do you get through that first rejection? Because that's what everyone's scared of, right?
Everybody's definitely scared of rejection. Everybody's scared of doing the work. I realize people, they get down to it, they'll do everything. Now it's time to actually put the work in, cold calling, texting, and they're scared to make that first call. As far as me, I tell them, to that new person, like, yo, what's your why? Why do you even want this? Why you? I had a student one time, I told him that, like, man, maybe this is not the business for you, right? So maybe, hey, real estate is not the answer for everybody, et cetera. This man went out, that motivated him so much, he went out and did 2 deals.
Yes, love that.
He went out and did 2 deals. I told him that, but I was saying it from a genuine, sincere, place, because with me, man, when I first approached his business, of course, I had the same, like, man, I don't want to call. They're going to tell me no. Again, another day defeated, and I would do it anyway because I was mentally prepared for the process, and I knew how bad I wanted success in this business.
Yeah. I love that. I love the idea. I mean, I'm a big energy, psychology, the being prepared for the process, mentally prepared for the process. I mean, if everyone approached their life like that, you're about to get home and your wife already sent an angry text message. If you're prepared for the process that you're about to go through, then you'll get through it, So like that's such a simple explanation of the exact same words that Nasser just said. If you're prepared for the trials and tribulations that you'll go through to get your first wholesale deal, then you will get through it no matter what, because you were prepared. But if you're not prepared, then you're it'll feel like you got stabbed in the kidney and punched in the mouth, and then you'll decide whether you want to go back to your old job or not.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Like you have to want it. Like with me, man, like I was doing, before I did my first deal, I was doing, like, I'll be working, I'll be listening to YouTube. So being that I'm listening to YouTube, at that time it was Eric Thomas. It was Eric Thomas. I was doing a lot of listening to Les Brown back then. And I just have that playing. Of course, Jim Rohn, some Tony Robinson stuff. I have that playing in the background. And one thing that Les Brown said, or I think it was Eric Thomas. Les Brown always said, "Man, you can look up, you can get up," and he tells stories about how hard his life was. And everyone looks at Les Brown like, "Man, you're mega successful." Like, yeah, So I mean, you've been a motivational speaker, since the 80s, early 90s. I remember I didn't know who you were. My father had some tapes, so I seen you on TV. And now I'm like, as an adult, I'm listening to your stuff. So I'm gonna listen to you. I look at you as mega successful, but he talks about all the hardships he had. But one thing Eric Thomas said in one of his earlier videos, like, man, y'all want the results when you really should be preparing for the process. The process is what's important. The results will come once you go through the process. But most people don't want to go through the process, which is, extremely, I just can't argue with it. Most people don't want to go through the process. And that's why I try to prep my students for is like, yo, let's go through the process. Don't worry about anything else. Just get motivated enough of the goal. Okay, that's the goal line. Let's prepare ourselves mentally so that we won't quit.
That's it. That's great. I love that. So Nasar, we're here because we're promoting a opportunity for your friends. I think Dominic has created a coupon where anybody listening today is able to sign up for Geopoint Data to find some of these specialty lists, to get phone numbers, to be able to communicate with homeowners that are probably more likely to sell their house. So Dominic, if you want to put out the code. Or however people are able to take advantage of the offer that Geopoint Data is offering from Nasar, that would be great. The code is Duru50. Oh, that's awesome. And what is the code Duru50? So Duru is DORU 50. And what does that code do for? It's a $50 $50 off the subscription, which is great. So Dominic, if you want to join, yeah, thank you. Maybe you can show, yeah, bing, there he is. He just like the prop is like walk up the ladder, walk down the ladder. Yeah, Dominic, if you want to go ahead and explain what you're presenting today, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen here, and I got some cool stuff to share. Can everyone see my screen here?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Perfect. So we just launched this here. This is the Geopoint Data subscription. A lot of people are having a tough time getting access to good data for a good price. We wanted to change that. So we're running with these 3 new subscription packages. So the first one is your premier subscription. It's going to go for $147. You will get an additional $50 off of that price for your first month of use using the Duru50 code. That is going to have 10,000 leads included with that. That is all of our stacked information, property information, and our consumer information, and also includes 20% off on our bulk skip tracing. Now, if you wanted to have all that skip tracing included with it, you could go with the Premier Plus package. That is $397 per month, discounted down to $347. That will be 5,000 leads, including stacked filtering. You'll get up to 5 phone numbers, up to 2 landlines, all your property and consumer information included in that. Those are all your skip trace leads, all packaged together. Now, if you're buying lists from other places and you would just like to have the skip tracing, that's where our skip trace package comes in here. That is a $397, discounted down to $347, and that essentially will include 5,000 leads of all your bulk skip tracing. That does also include the extra appended information if you don't have that information added on to the side of that as well.
So makes sense to me.
That basically covers all of our skip tracing pricing, and the FAQ is here at the bottom. If you have any other questions, it can be answered there. You can also go down to the bottom here and click this section here, put in your name, email, and message. That'll get sent directly to our customer service team, and they will be there at any time to service you from there if you have any further questions.
Cool. That's great, Dominic. I appreciate you going through that. So I think that's the idea, is that you can definitely go to our county courthouse and find death records, and we have a whole bunch of tools that we use to try to find death records in Maricopa County and a couple other markets. And so Geopoint Data is actually about to launch a product that is related to that. So we're excited for that. But generally, the idea is that you need a list, and you need that list on a recurring basis. So Nasar, can you help us understand how you stack into or out of calling lists? So do you maybe start with a list and then you add more on a monthly basis? What's your strategy to utilize data to make sure that you fully attempted to get a hold of someone who's most likely to sell?
Well, what we do big swaps out on lists probably about every 6 months. So 2 times a year, whereas we update and swap out lists. But for when I was just started, I used to do the add-on method. So just add on, etc. But as I'm more experienced, because I'm grabbing counties and things of that nature at this point.
So then if there's 1,000, so let's talk about, like, if someone's new to this, right? They want to start and try to communicate with 1,000 people. From earlier, we decided 5% of those people are probably going to sell their house. 1% might be distressed, right? 1 to 2%, let's call it. So of that 1,000, we're going to have 10 people in that list that probably will sell their house, and 1 or 2 of them could be your customer. Is that a fair concept?
Absolutely.
And then you would add whatever would be in your budget to stack up on that starting 1,000. So would you call the 1,000 in the first month how many times?
I would call 1,000 maybe 2, 3 times. Like, I mean, we would try to, like, with the 1,000 first month with the VAs, we just make sure we try to call somebody until they pick up. So it's not like an exact time. We might run through that list 2 times that month or so.
Yeah.
Until somebody picks up. But we try to dial it out. After of course, after 6 months we refresh data, but we just try to beat it up until they pick up.
That's right. I love that approach. So we run in cycles of 9. So we're going to attempt one phone number 9 times. And if we can't get a hold of them in 9 times, then we let that data rest. We don't give up on it. But what Nasar is suggesting is that if you can afford every 6 months to replace all of the data across the county, which is the type of scale Nasar operates on, that would be brilliant. But if not, then maybe 1,000 records a month. If you want to, we actually recommend, to get a deal done, we have experienced 2,500 to 5,000 records. Nasar, do you have any concept of how many attempts from a data perspective it takes to communicate with how many leads to closings?
For us, if we talk to, right now it's at 30. We talked about 30 leads, we'll get a deal.
Okay, great. And then I'm putting you on the spot. So I don't know the answer for my business, so you shouldn't necessarily know. But do you know how many people you have to put into your system to talk to 30 leads?
Yes. It's probably, for us to talk to 30 leads, 10,000 records.
10K records. That's brilliant. Okay, perfect. So, I mean, not to toot my own horn, but if you sign up for a Geopoint Data subscription, those 10,000 records that you would need in order to talk to 30 people in order to get one deal done becomes significantly more affordable than having to buy that data on a one-off basis. So I appreciate the idea of that, because that's exactly what needs to happen in order to assume that you're going to have enough at-bats, is what I like to say, right? You got to have enough at-bats in order to bring home the bacon, and that becomes the game. So that's good. 10,000 records, 30 leads, 1 closing. So that's interesting, because it has been, so we have data sets where it's 2,500 records, and then we have data sets that it's 5,000 records, and then we have data sets that it's 10,000 records. And just so you guys know, specialty data, we have data sets that we have 2 conversations, we're closing at least 1 deal, and the margins are ridiculous, especially when it relates to death, when people have to sell because no one's going to live there anymore. So yeah, I encourage people to find your specialty list, know what your offer is. Nasar, we didn't really get into that part. So if you have the right data and you start with 10,000, you have 30 really good conversations about selling the house and you get one deal done, what offers are you bringing to the table so that the home seller is most likely to work with you? You have a cash offer, right? Do you open with a cash offer that might be lower than they would appreciate, or tell me your like process flow?
For me, all right. Ideally, we do wholesaling unless that's our primary thing. We don't approach with multiple tools unless we hear certain keywords. I'm behind on payments. The house is worth more than what I can sell for, etc. Certain buzzwords. I'm losing my house. Then we'll try to attempt a subject to transaction. But for the most part, we're approaching with just, straight up wholesaling, or I'm keeping it as a rental if we don't put it out there. Like the subject to stuff, like generally me or somebody from my team is going to keep it. We don't put those out there.
Yep. No reason to. It makes sense.
There you
no
go.
money.
Early on in my career, of course, if you're new and you're watching this, you probably don't have the money to keep it. It's fine to sell it, but I'm gonna tell you from experience, bro, you will regret every subject to you sell.
That's right. But let's talk about that just for a second, because there's also stupidity in the market generally, right? So if you can't afford, what type of a margin do you need to hit on your subject twos in order to assume that you're not going to have to reinvest over and over and over in that house?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
What kind of net profit or cash flow do you have to have in order to assume you're not going to dump money into that? Because what you just told our newbie audience is just keep all of these things, but if they can't afford to lose $500, should they keep it? So that's the conversation I'm trying to have.
Okay. All right. So I touch on subject to my students, and I tell them the reason why I don't go full on out is because sometimes, and I've seen this, people find out about this strategy and do the wrong thing because just because you got good intentions does not mean it's going to work out. And if you take on a few mortgages and you can't pay it, man, you can literally end up in jail. And you see those situations nationally, you see them locally in every real estate market, whereas somebody ends up in jail due to fraud because it's looked at, you defrauded the seller and you didn't pay it. And it was like, oh, well, I thought I could make the payments. No, you can't think that you can make the payments or not. So for the newbie, I would recommend for any rental property you keep, have a reserve for $5,000. The reason why I say $5,000 because in rental properties, not if something goes wrong, it's when.
That's right.
I don't care if you get a brand new construction house. Of course, you hope that nothing major will happen, but in entrepreneurship, things don't go right. But these houses are still man built and things can go wrong. So therefore, with that being said, I think you should have a $5,000 reserve for each property. So please just keep that in mind, guys. Subject to is a great way to build wealth. If you're new and you don't have the money, just sell it. And sell it to somebody, hopefully, that you have a relationship with, that you trust, that you can that they can make the payment. Yep. Because you don't want to be involved if anything goes wrong because the person is not making the payment. So and that's why
everybody gets sued in that scenario. So I love the idea. Like we opened the conversation that you focus on wholesale. I focus on wholesale. I've been doing this since 2003, and I haven't done a single subject to on purpose because there's a lot that can go wrong, and I have the resources to get through any of it. But what can you scale into? What can you do over and over and over? And wholesale is something that you can scale into, that you can do over and over and over, no matter where you are at. From a business cycle or personal financial scenario. So I love that. Cool. So talk data to me. Use the code DORU DORU 50 for $50 off of any Geopoint Data stack subscription. And so that's exciting. Nasser, is there anything else that you want to leave our audience with from a newbie or like mindset perspective, maybe?
I would just tell this, right? If you haven't done a deal, or if you're new and you're doing 1 to 3 deals, let's say, I'm going to tell you like this, man. All right. Focus. Follow one course until successful. Don't try to do 5 to 10 things. Okay. Dustin just said he been wholesaling since 2003, right? So, and he just hey, it's scalable. I can do this, right? And you could come uber successful at it, right? Like uber successful, meaning like crazy successful at it. And then once you become successful, you want to do other things, you can. But with like just focusing on wholesaling, this can allow you to do so much. This allowed me, my career started off from flipping properties. Me and my partner, we lost 7,000 apiece, the risk. Then I tried to get into rentals the traditional way. And that rentals is a get rich for slow, sure way though. But it's a slow method. Wholesaling is not many businesses, is not many industries that you can make this type of money with this a little amount of risk. However, but once you get into a situation, and it's going to sound crazy when you don't have it. Once you get into a situation, you wholesale some houses, you got 30 to 40,000 put up in your account, your expenses are covered for 6 months if need be. You can start looking into other things. Hey, you want to get into rehabbing? You can. If you want to get into buying rentals, you're in position. So my best advice: focus, follow one course until successful.
Completely agree. So then to summarize everything that we really talked about is you need to start with specialty lists that are going to increase your chances of the number of contacts, number of people that you talk to the number of people that are most likely to sell, to the number of people that are going to close. So you got to start with your data. And that's an easy conversation. Use the code DURU50 to purchase a subscription and get 50% off. And the fun thing about Geopoint Data, I can tell you with absolute certainty, is that our consumer demographics file is the best in the industry. So, phone numbers, lots of people skip trace. You can get your phone numbers anywhere. Geopoint Data has the best base data, consumer dictionary, number of people with number of ages, and all of the other related distress functions. So use code DURU50 for the data. Start with your specialty list. And then, Nasar, I like to just communicate having the right offer. So I'm a licensed realtor and I'm a real estate wholesaler. And so what I do is we call it the ethical bait and switch, right? So you're going to go in with a cash offer, and if you don't have a real estate license, then you should have a realtor friend to push this lead off to, because if you've got someone that wants to sell their house and you put the effort to build rapport with that homeowner, then make sure you can bring them the right offer. And if the cash offer isn't the right solution for the homeowner, then you should have something to do to help solve that solve that problem for the homeowner. Do you have anything to say about that?
No, I mean, that's basically it, man. That's in a nutshell.
Super. So yeah. So have the sellers, find the sellers, use data and use marketing channels, whether it's door knocking or outbound calls or text messages or whatever those marketing channels are, and then make sure that you have the right offer to satisfy the customer that you're communicating with. And if you're in this business to help create solutions, right? I'm a problem solver. Nasar, I know you're a problem solver. If you're in the business to help solve problems because you like solving problems, then you're going to do great. If you're in this business for the money, what usually happens, Nasar?
It doesn't work out because it consistently it's a lot of work involved. So being money motivated is okay, but just prepare yourself for the process and doing the work.
That's right. I love it. That's a great way to send off. Thank you so very much, Nasar, for being with us today.
All right, man. Thanks for having me, man.
Appreciate you.